All right, Zach, welcome back to Demir's Monday here at the WSAU. My first trip down here to Wisconsin Rapids. You've got quite the bustling community down here.
Yeah, welcome.
It's
It's a different community in the wintertime than it is in the summer.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just generally people are not as active outdoors. But, well, it's cold out right now, too.
Of course. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, I'll look forward to coming back down here in the summer then.
Yeah.
And we'll see what's going on. But right now we wanted to talk about some of the projects you had in the pipeline for 2017. It was a pretty busy year down here, actually, and you've kind of compiled a best of list. And take us through that a little bit.
Sure. Well, one of the things we're most proud of is we've long had a commitment in this community to invest in ourselves, that in amenities that are going to make our community more attractive to young families and young adults. And earlier in the year, we had a donor step forward and said, we want to build a splash pad in your community. And really the backstory on that is our community, about a year prior to that, closed our only outdoor and our last public pool. And so our community lacks any public swimming facilities to date. So we wanted to have an interim step while we worked on a project to build an aquatics facility in the city. So the donor stepped forward. We had a unique project where we involved elementary students to come help us design the splash pad. So it was really a civic engagement, citizen engagement 101 for young residents of our community to build an asset. That facility opened at the end of summer last year. So nearly a $700,000 facility is now open in our community. It met with some rave reviews, even though we only got about 2 weekends out of it at the end of the season. It was really warm after Labor Day and Labor Day weekend. So that was an exciting highlight for 2017. Some other projects, we had a cranberry processor, Mariani Packing, who has been growing in our community since they bought the facility a number of years ago from a local family. They did a very large expansion, well over a $10 million expansion that added actually 35 new jobs to the community. So that's a project we're proud of, and they've completed that at the end of the construction season last year. One of the other projects is the YMCA has now acquired the Rapids Mall, and I think our last update was we anticipated that they were going to be taking ownership. Since our last update, they have now taken ownership of the Rapids Mall. Nearly all the tenants now have either relocated or chosen to close for a variety of reasons. Can't find another location, retirement, etc. So the mall this spring will now become renovated, and there will be some demolition to bring about a Boys and Girls Club in one of the former Anchor stores, as well as the YMCA site. They're currently in a fundraising mode, but we believe that they're going to be having that wrapped up yet this spring, so they can break ground shortly thereafter and get construction underway. So that's another big project that we're excited about. As malls have declined around the country and in our area is no different. It's nice to see that property get redeveloped before it became unsightly or truly a vacant drag on our downtown area.
So has the YMCA had a presence in Wisconsin Rapids?
They've had
prior?
a small satellite here, yeah, and one of the neighboring communities is generally their primary site, but they're looking to service the region a lot better, and this is going to allow them to consolidate their sites while still keeping a presence in the neighboring community of Port Edwards, but really having a new hub of activity. It's going to bring about new partnerships. So the city's senior center is adjacent to the site, as well as a community theater and the Veterans Clinic. So it's going to be a neat location for them to occupy.
So when you're pitching the community of Wisconsin Rapids, then, as you have to, of course, being an ambassador and a cheerleader for the city, how big does having something like a YMCA or amenities like that to offer prospective employers or prospective residents?
Well, it really comes from a new capital standpoint. There's a major investment, right? The YMCA Boys and Girls Club comes with a price tag of about $27 million. So to have that single investment in our downtown demonstrates to visitors and prospective residents and prospective businesses alike that this community is reinvesting in itself. It's got anchor institutions. The YMCA is generally the health and wellness facility for the community, but they do so much more, whether it's childcare, providing childcare or access to community programming. The YMCA offers so much to our community that to some communities, if they're coming from a place that might be more urban where there's other options for those types of things, that really is a premier institution for our community. So to have that in a new setting, in a new building in our city is really exciting because it demonstrates again to folks that might be doing a drive-by tour of our community that there's activity happening in our community.
You talked about a lot of multi-million-dollar development projects that you've had in 2017.
Yeah.
Now that you're kind of going through the final numbers, we've had a few communities that have had record construction growth? Is that the same down here in Wisconsin?
Surprisingly, it was a
Rapids?
new record, and I think for a lot of residents, they're kind of like, "Well, where is it? Where is the record?" But it's in pockets of the community, whether it was industrial or even some commercial activity. But yes, there. For example, GM brought Chevy back to Wisconsin Rapids in a new dealership on the west side in a redevelopment site that was quite blighted and unsightly. So to have, from that dealership's expansion on our west side of our town, which has maybe been seen as one that has had lack of investment over the years, or maybe disinvestment. So to see kind of pockets of investment throughout the community, but no question, over $25 million of new construction occurred last year throughout the city. It was a new record or a new norm for us. 2018 is shaping up to be maybe even double that. The hospital, Aspirus Review Hospital, is doing a $30 million expansion here, where they're bringing a new birthing center to the community, a new emergency department, so they can effectively respond and provide a much higher level of care to our community. And there's also job creation that goes along with these projects, which is exciting. Job creation is something everyone's concerned about, and as we are here at the city. But the interesting thing is, it's more so the investment numbers that have been the attractive point, because the job creation is happening in different forms. Businesses are creating fewer jobs with expansions, a lot more automation if you're talking about manufacturing. But without a question, it was a banner year in Wisconsin Rapids in 2017, and 18 and even 19 are shaping up to be even more exciting.
Just talked about manufacturing a little bit. I just drove by one of the mills on my way into town here. Talk about how is the manufacturing sector looking here in Wisconsin Rapids?
Well, in particular, paper is continued to be faced with heavy headwinds or strong headwinds and challenges, and they're working to bring new grades to the paper machines that are still producing paper in this community. So what that means is they're bringing potentially new products that could be produced on the machines here in the community, especially as the decline for demand for coated papers, which is generally what Wisconsin Rapids mill produces. So the exciting thing for us is we want to ensure that mill is going to be here for a long time. And one of the ways to do that is to diversify the product mix in which they're producing for different products for various vendors. And so that's an exciting point that we feel that 2018, we're going to see they announced at late 2017 a strategic initiative to look at what are the variety of products that they can bring to this mill here in Wisconsin Rapids. So from an employment sector, they're definitely the dominant employer. The wages are great. They continue to struggle, though, as many employers have in our region, to find talented workers. Our population in central Wisconsin as a whole is not growing, so they're really looking to attract employees to our community. So the more our cities can make investments to become attractive places, make sure the housing stock is attractive for them, as well as community amenities like a splash pad, an aquatic center, a YMCA. I mean, all of those anchor institutions that make living in a community much more of an easier sell than otherwise might be the case.
Yeah, all just goes together. You got to have the jobs, and you got to have something in the community to offer people that want to relocate here.
You've got it.
Talk about what you have, some of those projects that you have coming up now for 2018. What are going to be some of those big anchor construction projects?
Well, our airport, which to many is just a kind of it's a small airport. It's a basic airport, but with the growth and development in Sand Valley just happening south of the city, which opened its doors last year to the world, it's now being listed as a top destination for 2018. So we expect the airport traffic to continue to explode as it did this last year. But alongside with that, we're doing some capital investments. So the state made a $4 million investment in our airport throughout the budget last year. It's one of the only airports to receive a special investment, given the amount of activity and economic development that's been brought about with Sand Valley's development. So that's going to kick off in the spring with another reconstruction of a runway, as well as planning for future development on our airport. So it's those types of infrastructure investments that really generate and ensure that we're going to take advantage of the economic activity and opportunity that's before our community.
I know in the past you've had a few RFPs, especially the Triangle area downtown. Do you have more of those coming, or do you have an update on some of those?
Yeah, the Triangle in particular, we had a prospective developer come forward that we agreed to enter negotiations with last fall, and so those are ongoing, and as now that we're into 2018, we're going to be engaging with them on more specific targeted negotiations on that property. We hope to have a multi-story mixed-use development for that site. It'd be the first project to bring dense amount of housing units to the downtown. It's expected at least 40 housing units would be brought to the downtown waterfront district, which again offers a segment of the community that is not available today from a market standpoint. If someone's looking for housing that wants to walk or bike to work, our community doesn't offer that really in large part today. So the developer we're working with is Gorman and Company, and they are very experienced in that space. We're also working with local businesses to possibly take occupancy in the lower level retail spaces, as well as maybe open some new businesses. So I'm chomping at the bit to get that project underway for us to get through negotiations this spring, hopefully for us to get a shovel in the ground yet in 2018.
And especially with a development like that, it seems like that's what people want these days. The millennials want to live where they work, they want to walk to work, and in fact, some of them don't even want a car. They just want everything within that walking distance, and that's going to be a big sell as well for the city, isn't it?
That's right. Over 2,000 people work in our core downtown every day, and about 7 of those people live downtown. So to give you a sense of truly what's the opportunity, and I think for rural communities like Wisconsin Rapids to truly be competitive with those urban communities that have had explosions in development and growth of this sort, we need to realize these types of projects. They need to happen, or we're simply not going to continue to attract talented, educated working professionals to our community, and we continue on a path of stagnation or even decline. And so it's just for our own survival, we need to get with the times. We need to offer these types of products to our prospective residents or existing residents who've been asking for it for a long time.
And looking at these developments, then I'll just kind of ask you off the top of your head, if Mayor Zach has the final say in this, what kind of businesses would you like to see come into a development like this, or services being offered in a downtown setting?
Well, I continue to hear unmet needs from a lunch and a dinner standpoint that we need a bakery in town. We've lost bakeries over the year, and even on my radio show the other day, it's been brought up. Where are the bakeries? We want a bakery. So that's a business we continue to hear a lot about. But just even access and an outlet potentially for local producers, that because we want local businesses to be the core and the forefront of this development, that while we have a farmer's market throughout the summer months, there is an opportunity to offer market kiosks almost on a low rent basis, that local producers of, maybe it's jams and jellies, maybe it's a wood carver, maybe some of the craftsmen and craftswomen in our community that are producing different unique products. There really isn't an efficient or cost-effective place for people to sell their goods throughout the community. So that's one such idea. It's kind of a market concept that if people have been to a public market like say in Milwaukee, which is a lot larger scale, but it offers different kiosks where each vendor is able to rent space, and there's just a built-in community vibe to it, where we're building social cohesion and bringing people together to celebrate what's been produced and generated locally here.
And of course, then all that money's going to stay right here in Wisconsin Rapids.
That's right. A lot of people like to point to, why can't we have X retailer or X brand to our community? The reality is those dollars don't stay here. And I think a truly an economic development opportunity for the communities to continue to focus on local, continue to support entrepreneurs who might be willing to take a risk, who are going to invest those dollars and profits right back in their people, right back in the community in which they live and do business.
Anything else that you'd like to add here?
I don't think so. I appreciate the opportunity to share with listeners what's going on in Wisconsin